save?
Oh, you absolutely did save. I also pressed the record button, so now we're back on air. It's good that you did this. At least now people know our actual production process.
Yeah.
We literally just saved the previous file, and now we're starting up the next recording. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to another episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast, Bits and Pieces. As usual, we're not numbering this because you have no idea when this is going to come out or in what order this is going to come out. We might record a few more. But we've had some time to sit back and watch some anime. We've had some time to talk about a bunch of stuff that's happening in the industry, as well as looking back on what's happened in the past year for anime, looking into each season and seeing how well each one did and whether or not they actually did well or not. So now we're actually just gonna chill out and just shoot the shit. So what's been on your mind recently, Jason?
Well, I have a confession to make. You know,
you actually don't like slice of life, I know.
No.
Okay, all right.
That's not. Although lately I've not been consuming a lot of slice of life, though. But not because I don't like it. I just didn't consume it.
There hasn't been a lot of good slice of life recently.
There hasn't been a lot of good of anything, bro.
Yeah.
Minus like Dan to Dan and actually minus the sequels.
Yeah,
plus Dan to Dan.
I was gonna say Apothecary Diaries came out, man. Like
100 Girlfriends is great.
Yeah,
but the rest of it, okay. So,
but what's really bothering you? What do you want to confess?
I absolutely do not like what the industry is doing with anime movies and the continuation / conclusion of their anime series. I am not talking about like the My Hero Academia like spin-off inconsequential but kind of cool movies.
You're talking about Infinity Castle, you're talking about
Chainsaw Man, I'm talking about Mugen Train. Mugen Train gets a slight pass because they adapted it.
What about the perspective Haikyuu movies are going to end the series?
Exactly. So Haikyuu, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, Konosuba, Sound Euphonium, all of those where either is the end conclusion is like a plethora of movies, or in between this season and this season, it's not that it is spin-off, it is mandatory viewing in order to continue the story.
Yeah, but companies got to make money, you know?
Yeah, I get that, but I hate it. I really hate it. I just wanted to express that. And it is the future that I don't want to happen, but it probably will.
Look, I'm going to be the other guy.
No,
just be
go
like,
ahead.
But if you like the series a lot, then wouldn't you want to put some money into the studio to make these movies? Wouldn't you want to reciprocate thanks to them for making such series?
What makes you think that a movie equals more profit for the animation studio? I'm just saying hypothetically.
I would say that box office sales supersede whatever you get from the commission from
the licensing.
Well, I mean, again, how much of the licensing trickles down?
Right. I'm just saying that usually, I think, traditionally speaking, right, the animation studios get a lump sum. That's already, we've been talking about that since day one. But I think most of their earnings otherwise is either through like Blu-rays or merchandise, I think. Like, it's always in the contract, but usually those are like when you say, oh, I want to support the animation studio, buy their merch, buy their Blu-ray. That's usually what people say.
Right. Well, outside of the money, then, like, don't you care about the anime, bro? Don't you love Demon Slayer?
That's why I watched it all. And I will watch Infinity Castle, but it's really annoying.
Infinity Castles. It's a trilogy, right? So
the trilogy and the castle is infinite, right? So it's always plural. I just freaking hate the fact that we have watched so, like, what? Whenever we go to watch movies, it's always, we watched Yuru Camp, we watched Haikyuu, we watched, there was, I think, one more, right? Did we watch another one together?
We watched Jujutsu Kaisen Zero.
Jujutsu Kaisen 0, right. Like, I don't like movies because it is really difficult for me to pause a movie. Again, is this really stupid, anal retentive, pedantic? Yes, it absolutely is. But I'm just saying that the whole premise of this BP is just me to air out my grievances when it comes to what people are doing with anime movies. And I just don't like it.
I think that it's more a Demon Slayer problem and also a Jujutsu Kaisen problem because the fact that, look, I think that the way where releasing a movie as part of like canon, as part of mandatory viewing,
canon is a
is
good
that
way.
if it was the finale, if it was the final thing, you watched 4 or 5 seasons of something, and then at the end of it, let's end off with a bang, with a box office like fucking like woohoo, this is gonna be great. We're gonna finally like send off the series the best way possible. As egregious as it is to be like, oh, like I've been streaming this shit, why do I need to pay more money now to watch it? That makes the most sense. But
From what perspective?
In the sense that like it's like the kind of like a big send off to the series.
Okay. No, I see.
A finale.
Right.
I'm not talking about the money and whatnot here. What is annoying is if in the middle of the whole series you had to watch one movie,
like Mugen Train,
or you had to watch, for example, Jujutsu Kaisen 0 to know what happened before, leading up into, because there are characters that show up in JJK 2 that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't watched JJK 0.
But I don't know if you would lose that much. Of course, it will enhance your viewing.
You wouldn't know who that character is.
But then you'll just be like, oh, it's... I mean, I'm not going to say with that character, but
that's what I mean, right? It's in the same way that you didn't watch... I mean, of course, Mugen Train is a much bigger one because it's literally the second quote-unquote season.
What about Kizu Monogatari? Right? That's literally in a novel order canon.
Yeah.
And it's almost... It actually is very mandatory to watch it as part of the whole Monogatari series.
But I think that with these kinds of releases, it makes sense because in order for you to have viewership, you're very much dependent on your fandom loving your shit. And with enough people loving the Monogatari series, they probably felt that it made absolute sense to release Kizu Monogatari. I mean, Heaven's Feel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you had Season 1 that came out 2006, sucked. Then you did Unlimited Blade. Well, you did Fate Zero first, and then you did Unlimited Blade Works. But then instead of releasing it as like a single or double curse series or an ONA, you then had 3 Heaven's Feel movies. Same thing. Yes, they were streamed on afterwards, but you still had to pay initially to be able to at least watch that stuff. I think it just comes down to the fact that there are enough Fate series fans, there are enough Monogatari fans, there are enough Demon Slayer fans, and Jujutsu Kaisen fans, Chainsaw fan fans, like they will be more than willing to part with their dollar to go watch that movie, or however much a movie costs wherever you are. But in terms of like, you remove the money problem, I do understand that for the longest time when we've been watching anime, right? Like, the whole time you watched Naruto, never did you need to watch a movie.
Until the end.
What do you mean?
For Naruto.
Why would you need to watch the movie?
The wedding.
That's kind of, again, similar as like a not super consequential thing.
What do you mean? It's hella consequential, right? They all pair up, and then it kind of leads into Boruto, basically, in a way.
But that's dependent on you releasing more stuff afterwards. If you were just to focus on Naruto and Shippuden, you could just watch all 700 episodes.
I guess
that's it.
Actually, yeah. Actually, okay.
Yeah?
Oh no, okay. Yes, because in hindsight, obviously, it's 2020. Yeah. Okay. No.
Who would have known, or at least outside the execs, who would have known there would be a Boruto?
No, 100%. Actually, yeah. No, I'm coming around to that. Yeah, actually, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, Naruto checks out.
I agree with you in the sense that in order for you to watch something, you have to be introduced to another paywall. You have to fork over another. You have to go over another financial hurdle.
I have to touch grass.
But it's in the same way. We're like, I mean, how do you feel about DLCs in video games?
It kind of. Well, when is that DLC released? Let's. And what type of genre? Because I'm not trying to be pedantic. I actually think it matters. Because, for example, a fighting game with a new character, I would kind of
no,
put more...
That's different. I mean, of course, I'm talking about story-driven games. right? Because in the end,
Then is it like a day one DLC, which is basically supposed to be in the game, but then they charge you an extra?
No. That's not. Those are them just trying to fix their fucking just trying to fix their quality of life things. I'm talking about like 6 months down the road, here's a new story, or like you want a true ending. 1 year later, here's this.
Oh, the true ending thing, that also pisses me off. That would 100% piss me off. Yeah.
Yeah. But you also know why people do it, and it's blatantly obvious. It's money.
Yeah.
It's all money.
But the thing is, right, and I'm looking here according to I'm trying to find like the source. The ticket sales and box office in general in the US since 2019 has sharply declined and has been heading towards that kind of trajectory. So people are going to the movies less. I think in Japan, if I look at some of the stats, at least through Google, it appears to also be the case as well. So then that implies, right, that people are going to the movies less. Now, for whatever reason they're going to the movies less, that is obviously a more bigger question to answer. But what I'm trying to say is, if your audience generally favors TV series, but will reluctantly watch the movie because, so it's basically about money then.
But it's also down to the fans too. Like, okay, this is probably not like fully representative of everything, but excuse me. I'm looking at the top 100 movies.
Yep.
Okay. Gintama the final. And I'm doing like sequels or like movies of like series that are long running. I'm not talking about like standalone, like A Silent Voice, Your Name, nothing like that. Okay. Gintama movie 2.
Violet counts.
Violet Evergarden movies there.
Kaguya.
Kaguya, Kizumonogatari,
Slam Dunk.
The first Slam Dunk, Haikyuu movie,
Fate
Stay Night movie Heaven's Feel Part 3,
Made in Abyss,
Suzumiya Haruhi, Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl or Sleeping Girl.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a Gurren Lagann movie there too.
But that's a compilation.
Yeah, but that one's still very much. So what I'm saying here then is that a lot of it is just very much down to the belief that the fandom will pay to watch these movies, regardless of them feeling burned that like they have to get off of Crunchyroll or Netflix to continue a series or to see a finale or whatnot. It's not. It's obviously like not the best. I would like to. I mean, there's a lot of series I've watched. Like you didn't need to watch a movie to finish Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Of course,
you didn't need to watch a movie to finish
My Hero Academia.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how the final season's going to come out. Whether they do movies or if they do a final season, I don't know.
To my knowledge, at least. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But at this point, your point stands. Right. But it's very much just a cycle of how companies are going to be generating revenue and how they're going to be generating commercial success, marketing, advertising. I mean, shit, dude. Like, I know that the Pretty Derby Games, Uma Musume, they have movies for it. It's just so that they can keep getting people to come, watch the properties, continue the fandom, and keep getting people sucked into it. Why else do you think there are compilation movies? Now, this is a little bit different from what you're saying in the sense that compilation movies have nothing to do with having to actually watch something in order to continue the story.
But the act of double, triple dipping is valid, though, which I think is what you're going to say.
Right? Like, there's obviously a way for people to try and look at something and be like, hey, you know what? Why don't we make some money? Why don't we, instead of just streaming our stuff and getting licensing fees and whatnot, why don't we actually get people to go to the cinema, buy our movie, give us the money?
Because the reason is not necessarily, in my opinion, there's like two distinct phases, I guess, or arguments at some point. Because when the movie is airing versus when it is not airing anymore in theaters, I think my, frustration stems from more of the latter than the former. let's say, obviously, Mugen Train did not leave movie theaters. It did it had a long run, right? Obviously, but let's say for argument's sake, actually no, Mugen Train is bad because they did convert it into a TV section.
That's the other thing too. Why don't you just wait for the movie to go streaming?
Yeah, but it doesn't always happen that way. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true.
With licensing, sometimes it legit. I think either with Netflix,
sometimes you could wait 6 months, a year. Sometimes it might not happen.
Yeah, period. Or you have to buy their Blu-ray. Which, okay, fine. At that point, then it does the same thing.
Or you buy the movie off of like Amazon Movies, YouTube Movies, Google Movies, whatever.
But the thing is, right, in order to continue this journey, even though, let's say, season whatever is all available now on my platform of choice or on the same platform that I'm watching now, I have to do a pit stop. I have to stop midway and hunt this thing down to then come back because the movie is not showing anymore or it's showing on a different service and they did not, splice it up to be like a mini series. So it's kind of like this middle in between section that's just void.
So you're more speaking about movies where like it's a limited run and once it's done, it's gone. You can't watch it unless you buy it.
I mean,
because what I want to say here then is just because you have a subscription to Crunchyroll or to Netflix, does that entitle you to be able to consume all of it just on that one platform?
No.
Right? Because the studios themselves and the production communities themselves are not tied to that particular studio or that particular streaming platform just to get their content out.
Correct.
They are going to look at other mediums.
Yeah, and sometimes things, due to licensing issues, go off of Netflix, for example. So then the thing that you thought that you could watch whenever you want is now gone. So then you have to find it elsewhere. And I'm not talking about like Planets, which is you and I's most famous case of lost in limbo. And
we want to talk about Planets so much, but I'm sure
and we can, but it's not useful.
No. Your stance here comes more from like inconvenience above anything else.
Yes.
Right?
Of course, I understand the monetary gains. I even might understand rather than making a series or a season or a cur or even half cur, you then put it all in 1 2-hour chunk of a movie. So it's like you get more budget for, like, if you have to say money per minute that you can spend, in my opinion, generally speaking, anime movies has a much higher like dollar per minute than a TV series where it has to be spread out or figured out like, oh, this episode is very action heavy. So we put the Sakuga moments here, and then this one is just us, is the characters talking. So then we can, we might be able to fudge it a bit. But in my opinion, like, it's just massively like annoying. And
you have Demon Slayer to thank for that, because the examples I gave earlier in terms of like Heaven's Feel, in terms of Kizumonogatari, what you do for you with the Monogatari series, in terms of Gintama, those were movies that are born out of a long-running fandom.
Mm-hmm.
So many seasons have come out, so much content have come out. The light novels or the respective mangas have come out for a very, very long time, and therefore it might have made sense for them to do like a send-off and be like, oh, let's have these movies come out and watch this shit. Demon Slayer did it right from the get-go. Not even after one season, they already said Mugen Train movie. Straight away, second season. And then after that, everybody now wants to do that shit.
Yeah.
The Rize arc has no need to be a movie.
Yeah. God damn it, Mappa.
It's going to look fantastic, but there's absolutely no need. It's extremely egregious of Mappa and whoever decided to make that call and make it into a movie.
What about Haikyuu?
In terms of like the finale movies, or in terms of Battle of the Dumpster?
Well, in this case, both, basically.
Battle of the Dumpster is the fact that you like it enough and you wanted to watch. Is it canon, or is it like...
Yeah, it is canon.
Yeah, but then...
Because it's continuing the story. That's the problem, because when you finish to the top, which is the thing before it, I think, to the top 2, the story is not conclusive. It's not over. In fact, if anything, it's like there's more story later on, obviously, because if you look at the manga, there is more story. But then they're like, hey, well, let's turn it into 3 movies. And how long did it take? It's taking forever.
Yeah. I think the thing with that is the fact that the manga's finished in Haikyuu's side, right? That's the reason why that they maybe want to do movies, so that there is another revenue generator there, as
like an
opposed to
incentive, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we've already said, anime, its primary purpose is to boost sales of manga, or they find other ways to boost revenue generating sources. So if the manga's already finished, how else is making another season of Haikyuu going to make them money? I understand that it's a little bit different with Demon Slayer, because the fact that the manga already ended when the Swordsmith arc came out and the Hashira training arc came out, but they were doing this to lead up to the movie itself of Infinity Castle trilogy.
I mean, to be fair, if you exclude Mugen Train, right, everything else is TV.
Yeah.
So that is true.
Yeah. And I think that's generally it. It's understanding that you really do have to understand the purpose of anime, and it being a conveyor for you to find avenues to spend your money, whether it be through merchandise, whether it be going to entertainment parks and partaking in certain rides, and maybe that particular property gets a little cut out of their out of your ticket sales. Whether it's to go to like stage plays, whether it's to buy games that are related to that particular medium, it all boringly comes down to money. It's not about the fans, unfortunately, because I'm not saying that the studios are exploiting the fans by doing this, but you can't help but feel that like we're being a little bit burned. In order to finish what you started, that we had to give you more money.
I mean, do you want to watch Sword Art Online Progressive? Well, wait for the movies. Right?
I wouldn't doubt that, like, if there is going to be more Sword Art Online, that there will be movies.
So, do you think then, therefore, in the future, this kind of pattern?
We know this is going to happen more often, dude.
Right.
We already know this. We've said this before, and we know it's going to be a mainstay. And we have,
just like split curs, just like co-productions.
Split curs makes sense in order to give studios enough time to work on more stuff. I
actually quite like that idea, to be honest.
I think it's necessary. I don't know how it's fully done. I don't know the intricacies of doing a split cur or even just anime production in general, but I understand why a split curve might be beneficial to giving a studio some downtime, right? Especially when it comes to the studio. Like, what they would get is real-time feedback in terms of what people enjoyed about cur 1 or part 1, and then they can make on-the-fly adjustments to part 2, and then when it's ready, release it for that season, right? But when it comes to doing movies, the general problem is that, and coming from like a fan base perspective as well, you watch anime because you want to be in the know. You want to know what happens in the most hype moments. You want to have those discussions with your friends. You want to at least share that Sakuga moment or that tear-jerking moment and whatnot whilst it's happening. You can't do that if you aren't able to go and watch a movie, especially if the movie is not released in your area. That's the other thing, too. Just because Mugen Train was the biggest box office anime movie at the time, it didn't mean that everybody was able to watch it, because there's two things. One, COVID.
Yeah.
Two, we didn't even know if it was going to be in your country.
Yeah, limited release also, right? Like, we knew certain shows were going to be in Hong Kong for, like, the movie run, but we didn't know exactly when. Then all of a sudden, oh, Haikyuu, they just fucking announced it.
We got looked back 2 months after it released.
Yeah, and we were lucky. In the sense, right?
We managed to catch the runtime, yeah. I think, like, this is where, like, I'm going to remove the whole, like, oh, I'm the business, I can do whatever I want. Oh, why don't you support us? Don't you like anime? You should be paying money to watch anime. That is an argument that you already know. There's no point trying to bring it up again.
Yep.
From a pure fan perspective, it is, of course, a bit, like, entitled to think that you can just watch everything off of one platform or another platform.
100% entitled, by the way. I agree.
Yeah. But at the same time, it becomes really difficult to try and maintain your level of commitment to an anime when you know that by the time you're done with the 3 seasons that are on Crunchyroll, on High Dive, on Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, that you then need to go and find that movie and watch that movie in order to go and then continue whatever season follows afterwards. Especially if like the movie itself is not on streaming, right? Like you mentioned, just because Mugen Train ended up becoming a 6-part series, and then afterwards, then you had like the entertainment arc district arc come out afterwards. Not every movie is going to be out on streaming. I don't even know. Like for example, the Haikyuu movie, it's not on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Crunchyroll.
I don't know if
But
it's...
even if it is, it took a long time for that to come out, right? It's not as surefire as, by the time this movie's done, its runtime, we're going to put it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
It could be 6 months, 12 months.
And I also want to be clear here. Times now has been way more accessible than it has before.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say it's a money issue either, right? Like, more often than not, at least people here listening to this, if you do have enough money to pay for a monthly subscription of Netflix, you probably have enough money to buy a one-time ticket to watch the movie.
Very safe assumption. Right. Absolutely.
But it's the breaking of that convenience. It's the breaking of you being able to consume everything from your phone, from your laptop, from your desktop, from your TV, and then having to go to a cinema. I don't feel like going to the cinema is as rewarding as it used to be.
Yes.
Being a kid and watching The Phantom Menace the first time when I was a kid.
Or the first Matrix.
Yeah. First Matrix. Watching the first Lion King. Oh, that was the first movie I ever watched. And
or Spirited Away when I watched it.
It was a glorious thing. Mm-hmm. I think the age of watching movies has now regressed to basically streaming it on TV. Mm-hmm. Hence why you have so many movies.
Like same day, right?
Yeah. Or they just don't even... like they'll have movie release at the same time as streaming. Yeah. Right? And I never really understood that strategy because then you're not really going to get the box office. But I guess if it wins you an Oscar or whatnot, sure, whatever. As fans, as people who want to be able to watch anime and consume it and sink deeper into the fandom, it's not that bad.
It is.
It's not that bad to expect the studio or the production companies to try and make it as convenient for you as possible, considering we already pay enough money as it is, right? And I think that's the other side of it in terms of the money thing. We're already paying like $12 to $20 a month, US dollars a month, just to watch one subscription service.
Yes.
And then there's also the Takagi thing too.
Mm-hmm.
One on Netflix, one on High Dive, one on Crunchyroll, and then there's also a Teasing Master Takagi-san movie too.
Yep. I mean,
what the fuck?
I was going to mention that Teasing Master Takagi-san is the de facto. When I was thinking about this topic, that was the one that was like the most egregious, right?
I think it was like season 1 was on Crunchyroll, season 2 was on Netflix, season 3 was on High Dive.
Yep.
And then
movie is movie. Yeah. And it's just so frustrating. I don't know if licenses have swapped hands or changed now. It probably does. But it is so massively annoying. And the other thing that I also feel, again, I know what I'm saying is first world problems, like boo-hoo, Jason, what's the big deal? Just watch the movie. And I will begrudgingly watch the movie. Then it's like, then don't vote. You're voting with your wallet. Then you're just complaining for no good reason. I get that. But what I want to say is also, when let's say for example, the Demon Slayer case, right?
Yeah, actually, I do want to sort of extrapolate on that. Did having to go to the cinema to watch Mugen Train ruin your experience overall of the Demon Slayer series? Did it provide any inconvenience? Did it make you feel like, okay?
So, I mean, because it was COVID at that time, and
yes, that was also like massively crazy for your fans to be like, you want us to go to the cinemas when there are like lockdown protocols happening in our city?
Yeah,
but it didn't matter because box office, it's super popular. It worked,
and also because when they spliced it into the TV series, it was done not very elegantly, but it was fine. But it was just like, oh wow, actually, I don't regret watching the movie version at all.
Now, imagine like you had the power of foresight. And
okay.
That you would see that...
my third eye.
Yeah, let's say that you have a series that has like 5 seasons in total. But in order to actually properly enjoy it, between seasons 2 and 3, there's a movie. to bridge over to season 3. And then in order to finish it, there was a finale movie. Would you then decide that you want to embark on this journey?
Exactly. That's the problem, because I will feel the compulsion and the need to, but I feel it feels very, I mean, that's not very predatory. It just feels a little bit like taking advantage, which it kind of is, essentially. And the point that I'm trying to make is, I feel like the stance of, well, someone has to make the money, and it's not like the biggest deal to go to the theaters, like especially now.
Yeah.
So, or it would be on streaming platforms anyways. So why are you complaining?
And
but I think
you can also say about the money thing too. But then the inverse of that is, well, then why isn't every series doing that?
Or you could say everyone has that exact same thought, but then they're like, well, fuck it, I'll just go watch the movie anyways. And then it extrapolates into that pattern of, oh, people would want to watch it in movie form, so let's continue pushing that because that's where the money is.
Yeah. Fullmetal Alchemist never did it. Bleach never did it. Naruto never did it. Well, in the sense that like they never did it, but I know, of course, there are a ton of like One Piece movies, Naruto movies. There was also, I think it was the something Shambhala. The
what?
No, it was the Fullmetal Alchemist movie. I did watch that one. I need to remember what it was called though. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. No, Brotherhood. Full Alchemist.
Oh, so it's not even Brotherhood.
It was called Full Alchemist the movie Conqueror of Shambhala. That came out in 2005.
Was it an original story?
I mean, the ending to the original.
Oh, it was original, right? Because the manga hasn't been.
And so they carried it on from there.
Ah,
right.
Okay.
Right? But then you were to, 10 years afterwards, you then watched Full Alchemist Brotherhood. Didn't need to watch anything because you got the full faithful story, all done, 64 episodes. I think 64. So yeah, like you could make the argument that studios need to make money, production committees want to generate more revenue. Cool. But then you would be expecting like every single series to be doing that, because why wouldn't they want to do that? Why wouldn't the studio be like, we should be making more money off of this series? Why don't we make a fucking slow loop movie? Why don't we make another Haruhi Suzumiya movie? You know?
Again, it really depends, but I normally would assume making a movie is more expensive than possibly some productions. Obviously, not all productions, and there's very likely that, for example, like JJK season 1 and season 2, each of those episodes are worth a lot of money in terms of the budget.
Yep.
But if I were to go by general sentiment, or at least my preconceived notions, anime has a higher budget and therefore costs more to be made than a series in general, or at least I view it as a bit more superior in the budgetary and like scale, if you will, because you can make a TV series cheaper than a movie. Maybe not nowadays, but at least that's the thinking that I still have.
I mean, when you say TV series, you mean anime, right?
Yes, correct.
Because there are some TV series IRL that like
what, like Game of Thrones, like all that stuff,
which costs like $50 million or so per episode to produce.
Yeah. That's what I mean, anime, right? And I don't know. I just feel like that this kind of when it is a very emblematic of when you are watching a show, and then all of a sudden you have to switch gears and go somewhere else, whether it is platform, a location, whatever it is, in order to continue that journey. It just is very annoying. Again, I keep going back to saying it's annoying because it's not necessarily like so backbreakingly like terrible. In fact, if anything, it's been as easy as it can be nowadays. But I just feel that it is something that people are still doing. People are going to continue to do it, and I don't want the industry to go down that route, despite the educated guesses they will continue to go down that route and go all in on it.
Assuming you're a massive fan of both series, right?
Of both what?
This is where I'm going to lead you into.
Sorry, yeah.
Would you feel it's more egregious to complete Demon Slayer or to complete Takagi-san.
Hella Demon Slayer.
But you have to pay for those additional services too.
Yeah.
That's still money. That almost equates to how much it would cost for you to pay for watching a movie.
The reason why
now, is the matter here more a factor of convenience, having everything at the palm of your hand, or is it more a money thing?
Well, the reason Takagi-san is the most egregious of this example, but when compared to Demon Slayer, I chose Demon Slayer is because Teasing Master Takagi-san, the storyline you can kind of say is a little bit inconsequential because they reiterate that trope. They reiterate that formula, right? The whole point of, oh, I'm teasing you, but I actually really like you.
Yeah, but you still have to pay to watch those seasons.
But I'm
right?
not. I won't be. The reason why I watch it is because I really like the property. But
no, that's why I'm like. This is based on the assumption that you're a big fan of both of them.
Yeah,
like you like them both equally.
Yes.
So then the process of you watching the first season, Entertainment Art District, Swordsmith arc, the Husher training arc, all on Netflix, one subscription, and then having to watch Mugen Train, which now is free, but imagine you had to pay to watch the movie.
Well, not free, but it is in the same platform, right?
You don't have to pay to go to the cinema, but imagine you had to at the time, and then you had to pay 3 times to go watch the trilogy movie of Infinity Castle versus one subscription to High Dive, one subscription to Netflix, one to Crunchyroll, and then having to go and watch a movie. There's different levels of inconvenience, but inconvenience nonetheless.
10 out of 10 times, I would say Demon Slayer is the worst case compared to Teasing Master Takagi-san because the story does not end in the sense of being because in anime, we are kind of used to, whether we like it or not, the story continues despite we only get that 1 season or we only get that 2 season. We talk about that all the time, and people who watch anime knows that that's kind of like a thing because at the end of the day, as we said multiple times, anime is meant to advertise for the source. So unless if it doesn't make sense, you will always have more if it promotes your source, right?
But wouldn't you say the same thing in terms of Takagi-san? That
well, yeah.
After you've watched the first season off of Crunchyroll, you would then be kind of inclined to pay for a subscription to go to Netflix, and then after the second season, you would then pay to go to High Dive, and then after that, pay to go to the cinema?
Let me put it this way. Would you watch... what is a very formulaic... TV series, anime series.
At this point, it feels like it's less about the money, it's less about the convenience, it's more about the plot line and the story itself.
Correct.
Which I mean, like you could say the same thing with Takagi. You like the story all the way through.
Yeah, but the plot. No, I agree. But the plot line is more formulaic, or is of less significance than the conclusion or the intermediate area of Demon Slayer, right? Like, imagine if. I'm trying to think of like a series. Okay, JoJo. You're going to watch, let's say, part 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, part 5. Actually, wait, JoJo's a bad idea because you could watch each part independently and still get something out of it. The point is the formulaic repeatedness of a slice of life of Teasing Master Takagi-san, to me, is less egregious than not knowing what happens to Tanjiro and Nezuko at the Infinity Castle arc.
So essentially, the enjoyment loss is lesser with Takagi-san if you were, for some reason, to not watch season 2 or season 3 of the movie, versus if you couldn't watch Mugen Train and you still haven't been able to.
Because the plot continues at that pace.
And consequential.
And whereas Teasing Master Takagi-san, to a point, is same shit, different day, but in the best possible way.
Yep. I think we've moved away from it being a money and convenience issue and more the fact that, like, if you need to finish the story, you have to essentially consume everything, regardless of what platform or regardless of it being in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Like, if I need to watch a Doraemon movie, it's not going to be that big of a deal if if like
Well, I mean, there's also 20 of them, right? 30 or however many movies there are. But if you missed like 5 of them, it wouldn't like
it doesn't it detract, right? But let's say in that hypothetical case, I were to put you in another parallel universe where that Doraemon movie is split into 20 parts. Then one is way more egregious than the other, despite it kind of equaling in terms of quantity the same.
I mean, what you're doing is describing the Marvel Cinematic Universe problem.
Sure.
In which case, if you didn't watch any of the Thor movies, the Avengers movie is not going to make... Well, it may still make sense, but it's also like you don't know who Thor is, or you don't care for Thor. You didn't watch any of the... I mean, Hulk is a bad example. The reason why it worked is because there were really only 3 things you could watch at the time, which was Hulk. Nobody remembers that one. That's despite me loving Edward Norton. Iron Man and Captain America. Right? So there wasn't a whole lot you needed to watch to be able to enjoy Avengers. But now it's gone to the point where it's like, in order for you to watch the latest Avengers, which will be coming out in 2026, you needed to watch this TV series or that TV series or this movie and this movie, and you also need to read this comic, and then in order for them to have a full understanding of what happens in the next Avengers, if you didn't watch one of those,
and then the consistency it snaps, it breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Think of it like Nichijou versus I don't know, name a very good comedy. Oh, Psyche K is also a good example because there are through lines and there are like character developments, but for the most part, it's like each episode is kind of condensed in its own thing, just like Nichijou is condensed in its own skit, right?
I'll say that with the ending of Psyche K, it gets very consequential, so you don't want to miss anything. But for the majority of it, yes, it's very episodic.
Right. So when it's episodic, even though, as you said, there are consequences, right? But if you didn't know that,
like if I didn't watch like episode 5, it wouldn't ruin whatever happens through episodes 6 to 12.
And also 1 to 4.
Yeah.
But if I were to tell you...
Like you might not understand a certain quip or a certain character trait, but it would not massively detract from your enjoyment of the series.
Yeah, just like if you were to watch Slow Loop but miss out on one episode...
Where they managed to catch halibut, but they didn't catch... But you didn't watch the episode where they caught a sea bass.
Right.
Right? Yeah. I
or like you go Eurocamp, you go to a different campsite. Okay, there might be some character development, but for the like 90%
I will say this then. If you didn't watch the first 2 seasons of Eurocamp and then you watched the movie,
completely okay.
I don't think it would have been too crazy.
It wouldn't be. The problem is when there is...
I mean, actually, no, because I think we watched it, and my wife came along to watch it too.
Yeah, and she kind of liked it.
She liked it enough to be like, oh, I wonder what season 1 and 2 are like.
Love season 1 and 2.
I've shown her some episodes because I've told you we were preparing to go camping, and actually watching Eurocamp is the best way to prepare to go camping.
I know. I love that story.
All the stuff you need to bring.
Such a good story, right?
And it all fell apart because it was raining and it was cold that day.
Yeah, but like in that situation, like I feel like I'm repeating myself, but yeah, the storyline is so important in another situation where if you missed out on it, and especially when you had that much investment, right? I think that also matters. Let's say Teasing Master Takagi-san, right? You don't watch season 2, 3, or whatever because they're on different platforms, so you only consumed 1 season.
But I feel like what you're going to say then is if you just watch that 1 season, you'd be fine for it.
No, I wouldn't say you'll be fine, but the loss of missing out is
more minimal.
Is more minimal compared to, let's say, you are Kingdom Season 4 and you can't access Kingdom Season 5.
I don't necessarily have the right words or the best words for it. If you can think of a better way of describing it, feel free to chime in. But the situation that you're describing with the Demon Slayer phenomena and also like upcoming series that are doing the movie thing, it's in a way gatekeeping of the fandom in that you know that you have pledged allegiance to Chainsaw Man, to GGK, to Heavenly Delusions, or Hell's Paradise, or whatever hype shonen series there is. And we know that you're going to want to see more, because if you don't, you're not going to know what happens in season 3, or the finale will not make any sense to you.
Or you have to read the manga, the source, or whatever. Yeah.
Well, the manga is different in the sense that like the purpose of the anime is to try and get people to read the manga,
Right, but hypothetically
and
speaking, yeah.
So basically, then they've locked you in.
Yes.
That if you don't watch this, if you don't give us money to watch this, you're not going to understand or enjoy anything else that comes afterwards. So you have 2 options: you get the fuck out now, or you pay up and you watch.
You cut your losses, or you shut the fuck up and just enjoy the food that is presented.
Now I'm going to try and be as sort of like impartial to this and be like, like it's not like the modus operandi of a studio or a production committee to be like, we just want all your money, so you're going to pay us whatever, even though that really is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. It comes at the consequence of the fans, right? Like it means that like, in order for us to fully enjoy this one thing, we have to pay DLC. We have to pay an extra subscription service. We have to subscribe to an extra season of things, right? Like this is like a slight tangent, but one thing that I found really annoying with certain games is when you buy a game, you don't get the full game. You buy a game, you get to play the game. But in order to get certain character skins, or to get certain weapons, or to get certain levels or certain achievements, you have to pay a subscription.
Can you give me an example? I think
the Hitman series did that, where for a period of time, if you subscribed, every season they would release new maps. They would release new characters. They would release new stories. If you didn't pay for a subscription, you're just locked to whatever you bought in the first place.
But can you then buy packet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 though, or is it literally locked out? Period.
Later on, you can, but that's what I mean. Like no longer are you in a day where like you bought a game and that's it, and you get to enjoy the game from start to end.
You know what that is like? That is like when we were growing up, or you're a child and you're watching Saturday morning cartoons. So every Saturday, it continues the story, but one Saturday you had something to do, you woke up late, or you missed out, so then you couldn't watch that episode, and it's disappeared forever.
I've told you this before, where every summer when I was in elementary school, I would go back to Canada to go to a summer
you would
camp.
go back to Canada? Damn, that's a trek.
Yeah, I had to swim back, yeah.
Just kidding, sorry.
And every weekend, YTV, like I said, would have an anime slot of Pokemon, of Dragon Ball and whatnot. And for some reason, every time I went back to Canada for 3 years straight, they were playing the Cell games of Dragon Ball Z.
The Cell Saga?
Yeah.
Damn.
Now, the problem I had, though, was that my time in Canada was 1 month. And you know how fucking slow the Cell games is.
Well, they have to charge
so
all
by
the
the time I got to like the midway point, I was flying back to Hong Kong. And then when I went back the next year, it's Dragon Ball is still on the air. Why am I at the beginning of the Cell games again? But that's different. That was a different time, right?
Yeah.
Watching stuff was not nearly as easy as it is now, right?
But I would say the sentiment, though, stands.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
I mean, that's also why I never got into Dragon Ball, because I never watched it. It was never the right time for me.
And that is the part that I think is, when we exclude the money part, the logistics, the effort, right? It actually potentially ruins your perception, your appreciation, your opinion of that property for no apparent reason. And when I mean by no apparent reason, as in it's not the fault of the property itself. It's not like the storyline went to shit. It's not like they killed your favorite character. It's not any of those.
It's that you have to give more money to enjoy, to continue enjoying.
You have to jump through more hoops, whether it is a change in platform, or it is a change of money, or all of the above.
For lack of better words, it's a necessary evil. But it was only made necessary because of Demon Slayer Mugen Train.
And I think also partly because of COVID.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I also feel that, like, regardless of COVID, I think Mugen Train was going to go ahead anyway.
But I think I agree.
I think because of how COVID transpired and how Mugen Train was still that much of a success that every other production committee is like, they're onto something here.
Yeah.
Let's do this too.
I firmly believe that Mugen Train on its own is a very good movie.
Absolutely.
Demon Slayer on its own is, at least the UFO Table adaptation, is a very good anime, especially the first season, which is what you would watch before Mugen Train, obviously. And I also know that COVID definitely had an impact, how large, how little, or whatever, that it led to this, again, we call it the hype train, the momentum of then all of a sudden it just became viral and public or mainstream to the point where everyone just jumped on that train. Everyone watched the first season and got to that point and then watched Mugen Train. And maybe a lot of those people don't watch Entertainment District Car. I think that's not the case. I think everyone just kept going on that train because, as we know, we reported on, Mugen Train earned so much money for Japan, what's it called? The Japan Animation Association or something.
Something like that.
We reported on their, they do a report every year about the industry. And Mugen Train was a sizable portion. It was like 5% or 8% of all anime revenue that year. That's crazy. But not everything is Mugen Train afterwards. And I don't even think Infinity Castle will get to Mugen Train levels. I think it will get closer than, let's say, I don't know, Chainsaw Man. I think Chainsaw Man will not earn as much money as Infinity Castle.
Or even if it did, Mappa's going to say it didn't earn enough.
Sure, because it did not meet expectations, right? Yeah. But the point that I'm trying to make is I'm not putting anime movies on blast. I am putting anime movies that it continues the series on blast. Because it is extremely, I guess, is extremely against the spirit, I guess, of and very predatory of watching something that in anime, for whatever reason, is more common than, let's say, live action.
Well, I mean, it's just the commodification of fan enjoyment. It's parceling whatever sentiment you had for a specific series, for a specific property, and then selling you something to keep you going and to keep you
like
coming
the carrot
back
on the stick, right?
Right? Because if you don't watch it, have fun being left behind. Everybody's watching the most hype shit right now, and you're the only one that's not. No, I want to watch the movie. I mean, I was a little upset that you went and watched Mugen Train without me, but
that was on purpose. But
hey,
yeah,
at least I got to watch it for quote unquote free.
Yeah, but honestly, again, I just feel like, yes, it is not that big of a deal. Yes, I'm beating the dead horse for the 55th time.
I wouldn't say it's not a big deal. I think in the end, though, right? Like when we talk about, because initially I thought that your argument for this being a bad thing was out of like the money angle, the inconvenience angle, having to jump through different hurdles to be able to watch it. And
I think that's the obvious route.
It probably plays an effect, right?
Of course.
Right? But now that you've mentioned the whole, because I was kind of wondering, like, what do you mean that it's different, like the Takagi and Demon Slayer situation? And
I think that actually highlights it. Yeah, but go on.
And then when you say it's because of the fact that one is very much dependent on you actually going out to watch the movie in order to enjoy the rest of it, whereas the other one is not as consequential. I think that's where you're probably not the only one that feels that way about why movies are shit. Or why having consequential movies in the middle of a series run is shit.
Can you imagine, Will? Can you fucking imagine if Oda is like, guys, listen, the finale of One Piece is gonna air in my living room.
Or do it this way.
You know what I mean?
Do it this way.
Like,
there's reportedly 4 to 5 more years of One Piece manga.
Right.
Which means that there's probably going to be another 2,000 episodes of One Piece.
Sure, yeah.
But you're not going to watch it on TV. It's going to be a compilation of movies.
Yeah.
You have to watch every single movie to be able to finish it. Why wouldn't they not do it? They did One Piece Red. They've done a bunch of One Piece
Red
movies.
is a bit of an exception, right? Because
but what I mean is that they've released so many One Piece movies. What's to stop them from just saying, you know what? No more TV shows. The rest of One Piece is going to be movie adaptations.
There's nothing stopping it. In fact, if anything, judging by Haikyuu, Chainsaw Man, that is the pattern.
Jujutsu Kaisen as well, because they said, at least this is what I'm reading from Wikipedia, that it was announced that the next arc is the culling arc. They did not release what format it's going to be. Which means it's 100% going to be a movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely going to be a movie.
And I don't know how are we doing on time?
Oh, we're good. We're still under the hour mark.
The other thing that I also think that is a first world problem boohoo thing, Jason, but it is like philosophically as an anime viewer really bothers me is the pacing of watching a movie. You have to sit the fuck down, watch it beginning to end, and okay, you can pause and go to the bathroom and come back or whatever. But like you can't pause it, or at least some people can. It's really difficult.
Man,
for
when
me.
I was watching Endgame and it was like 3.5 hours long, I was busting for a piss 1 hour in, but I couldn't leave because why could I?
And the time flew. At least for me, the time flew by really smoothly. Like it didn't feel like it was 2.5 hours, and it was great. But an anime, for better or for worse, we are used to TV series in 20-minute or 50 double.
We're used to watching it in our downtime, in the comfort of our rooms or our living rooms, and we're watching it on our chosen platform, whether it be Netflix on your laptop, or you're streaming it from your Google TV, or you're watching it on your phone whilst you saved it whilst you're on a flight. You can tap in, tap out whenever you want, and that's genuinely how it is, right? Imagine it's like it's like a manga, right? It's like you can pick it up and put it down whenever you want. Now imagine reading that manga, but the pages move on its own, and you have no way of stopping it. And if you decide you need to take a break, well, shit, I'm not going to show you the previous 10 pages. You missed out.
I mean, no, you have to rewind, and it's a thing. I mean, off air, you and I keep talking that nowadays it's just much more convenient to read manga, so then we just read more manga. It's not that we hate anime. It's just that it's much easier to flip through back and forth.
Yep.
And I completely agree.
Or like Webtoon, the vertical format.
Sure.
Right? You just scroll.
I consider that the same thing.
Imagine it just auto-scrolls.
Yeah, and you can control.
It plays like an episode, as they call it, right? Mm-hmm. You have no way of being able to be like, oh, no, go back like 5 seconds. Oh, no, sorry. Nope. This is the runtime. This is what you got to do. You got to continue watching it or reading it. Of course, this is like not like a like-for-like comparison, but the point is, when it comes to watching anime, at least in modern times, even back then, right? Like, well, maybe not back then, because you had to watch it on air, right? While TV. So
there's commercials, right?
You can't pause the TV either, right?
I mean, if you DVR it, but yes, you traditionally
TiVo,
can.
Yeah. But like, back then you couldn't, right? But
you would go to the bathroom during the commercials.
I think that it's on both sides. I think we've grown up, at least in this era, in an era of convenience, in which we can watch and consume our media in any way that we like. But when it comes to then being moved to the big screen and there's no control over it, that's when it becomes a bit more disassociative for us. And it makes it sound like we're lazy cunts. Like, okay, fine. Maybe we kind of are. Maybe I just want to sit at my desk, watch like an hour of anime, pause whatever I'm watching, go take a shit, come back, and then watch. Or maybe I need to eat, so I go make some food, bring it back, and finish whatever I'm watching. I can't do that if I'm watching a movie. But that's like
even though the movie is in front of you in the computer screen.
But that's like the more sort of like lazy bastard kind of thing, right? In the sense that you're talking about how it is a break, it's a cognitive disassociating of you from being able to continue a through line of a plot, a through line of a story, and then you've reached a junction. Oh, I see you've just finished watching season 1. In order for you to finish the next part, you have to go watch this fucking movie. Get off your desk, go watch a movie, come back, and then we'll let you watch season 3.
No, season 3 will be here. Don't worry. Like we will be here, but you got to go over there to watch season 2.
But dude, COVID right now. I don't have money to go watch a movie.
Or how about you just don't have that chunk of continuous time that you can spend to watch that movie?
Yeah, what we're really annoyed about it is it's minor in any sense.
Yes.
It's obviously just us nitpicking like the issues of it, but at the same time, like if you really think about how if in the future major series did the same shit, where every other season, in order for you to continue on, you had to watch a movie. The money adds up.
Will,
your time. That's the other thing too. Our time is shorter now, right?
Yes. Due to commitments, life, whatever, right?
Dude, I'm fucking married, man. Like, I can't just all of a sudden tell my wife, hey, I'm just going to go watch Demon Slayer movie number 15. Well, why? The kid's crying again.
Well, you don't have kids yet, but yes.
Well, the kid can watch season 1 first, and when I come back, we can watch the rest of them together, okay? Like, I can't do that.
Now, Will, when we have been talking about, we have not mentioned a variant of what I'm about to tell you, which is, well, what happens when something is movie length but it is not a movie? Like episode 1 of Oshinoko. We know plenty of people, genuinely, seriously, who would not watch Oshinoko because episode 1 was 90 fucking minutes. Everyone also groaned and moaned about Fieren despite Fieren being Fieren.
I think it's like a split party though. That you had half the people being excited that we get like a long release format for the first episode, and then the other side, which is, what the fuck? I have to sit here for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, maybe even some. I think there might have been one that was like almost 2 hours long.
Just to start, by the way, Fieren is 2 hours, I think.
Okay, that's it, right? So this is where I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fuck with it. But people are always going to try and test our metal. People are always going to try a different format and see what sticks. And so far, it seems that double, triple, quadruple episode length first episode releases are working.
Yeah, because
mid series movies work. So why not do more of that shit?
Because hear me out here with the 90-minute episode 1 of Oshinoko, that has nothing to do with going to the movie theaters. That has nothing to do with paying a different subscription service. This is literally the same, in principle, the same service, the same series, continuation, but you just have to sit down longer because due to pacing, they break it up not by 21, 22-minute chunks that you're used to, but by 90-minute. And it's only the first one. But everyone raves about it, so you have to sit your ass through the 90 minutes. Of course, you can pause and go elsewhere, but you know what I mean, right?
How did you feel about Garden of Sinners then?
That was different because it was all movies.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's a compilation of 8, 9, 10 movies. 2 of them didn't really matter, but yeah.
Yeah, the last 2. Oh, no, parts of the last one mattered a bit, but
they were not that great.
They were not that great. Number 5, though. Number 5,
dude.
Spiral.
I still remember watching. Like, if there was a series where I could just completely wipe out of my mind and just start watching all over again, I would watch Garden of Sinners all over again.
Dude,
Holy fuck,
it's so fucking crazy. But the thing is, right? Like, it seems to me, whether it is movie lengths episodes as premieres or finales, or double episode, at least basically not the 20-minute chunk, or anime movies that is the link between 2 seasons or whatever. It is endlessly frustrating because this has been a relatively new phenomenon, in my opinion. Right? It hasn't been.
5 years is a very short time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And considering Oshinoko aired 2 years ago, or is it 2022? I can double check that.
But it's definitely within the span of the GAP podcast. So right,
not even. Oh wait, that's a television drama. Yeah, 2023. I can't believe there was actually a television live action drama for Oshinoko.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That came out last year. That came out 3 months ago.
Yeah. The thing is with, for example, Split Curse, that is now a very what's that face you're making?
Apparently, there was a not only 8-episode live action adaptation of Oshinoko, there was also a Oshinoko the Final Act live action film.
Great. I don't know what that is then. But what I know for a fact is the way that it is now. Like, look at split curse. I think you and I don't mind split curse at all. But it used to be, for a while, if something is more than one cur, like, for example, One Piece is every week for God knows how long.
Yeah, for a long time, it was just, hey, you got anime? Release them all. Oh, you need time? Get your other team to make filler episodes. That's how Naruto ran. That's how Bleach ran. That's how One Piece ran. And One Piece is still doing that.
Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, I mean, in like the past, I don't know, 5 to 8 years, the split curse system has been established, a trend. And in our opinion, we like it because, it gives people a break. But it was not too long ago that I think we even lamented on, dude, if they're just going to do 2 curse, why can't they do a Jujutsu Kaisen of season 1 and just do it all in one go, bro? I just want it now. I don't want to wait a season in between. Of course, there's valid reasons, and in this case, I think the reasons of that studio taking a break and pacing far outweighs my frustration of seeing everything binge it or every week for 24 weeks. The issue becomes, in this case of anime movies, it's less about that and more about taking money and convenience away from me.
Is this sort of discussion stemming from perhaps a fear that things, at least from the anime front, might become more restrictive?
That's why I said the future that I do not want, but it feels like the future that will be
a reality.
Yeah.
Look,
and you already
pissed
off about it.
You already said a lot of those series that have movies coming up, right? And not all of them are finales either. Like the Reze arc is definitely not the end of Chainsaw Man.
I mean, we know for a fact because we read it, yeah.
I mean, is it going to be fucking good? Oh, yeah, it's going to be good. Is it going to be as popular as Mugen Train? Probably not, but I don't think they care, right? And the other thing as well is imagine that for some reason, the Reze arc of Chainsaw Man is a box office bomb.
Ooh.
What would happen to the rest of it?
That's the other thing, yeah. Yeah. I think that's also a fair concern because the tried and true method, consistent method of TV series, you can only let me put it this way. If you were to watch a movie like the Reze arc and let's say for whatever reason it bombed, then you will not watch the rest of it, maybe.
Which is fine because you can just read everything on your Shonen Jump Plus app.
Yeah. But if it prevented you from getting the second season because of the performance of the movie, that really sucks. Right? Like that hella sucks. So there is no really winner, loser, right or wrong. And at the end of the day, it is like a first world problem, like we have said for the billionth time. But I just wanted to air out my grievances and rant.
You can't really say first world problem anyway because streaming anime is
a first world thing, right?
Yeah, right? It's a problem.
Yeah. So, anyways, that is sort of what I wanted to talk about, and we kind of did talk about it. So there you go.
We talked about an hour and 10 minutes, man.
Jesus Christ! Thank you for humoring us, dear listeners. Will, do you have anything that you kind of want to say before we just close shop for the day?
Fuck movies, watch anime.
Yeah, sure.